Let's talk about period tips I wish I knew in my 20s. Something like this iced cold matcha. Did you know that this is maybe one of the worst things that you could have leading up to and during your period? Well, either did I until recently, because ever since I was 15, I've experienced everything that could go wrong with my periods. From painful periods, back pain, really long periods, blood clots, amenorrhea, which is where, your period isn't just irregular, it doesn't come for 3+ months. I've had cystic acne come up from it and just kind of pushed through the pain thinking that this is just what I have to live with. If you've been following, I've been on this health and healing journey where I've been seeing a TCM doctor and really concentrating on my body and wellness within. She's shared so much insight with me and wisdom into these really simple daily habits. And on top of that, I've read a lot of books and I have my little period lifestyle basket with all the goodies and essentials that you guys need just to start us off on a fresh new track. I know it's really confusing, so I want to share Western approaches as well as TCM approaches so that we can get a really holistic understanding and know exactly what's going on. Period cramps are not normal. In a Western approach or in Western medicine, period cramps or really debilitating aches and pain is called dysmenorrhea. And dysmenorrhea is caused by the release of something called prostaglandins. And prostaglandins are chemical reactors within our uterus that signal the uterus to either cramp or release. So if it's cramped and if it's tight, then we'll get pain. If it's relaxed and it's warm and smooth, then we won't feel anything at all. And you can find a lot of doctors talk about this. But in TCM, they actually understand cramping and pain as a signal that qi and blood is not flowing freely. And it normally comes down to 3 main reasons. It's either cold or coldness, qi stagnation, which is also stress and over anxiety, and then you'll hear something called blood deficiency. So the funny thing is, when I went to the clinic, she basically said that I had all 3.
I need to teach you.
So whichever approach it is, they're both basically saying very similar things, which is we want to relax the uterus and the muscles so that it doesn't cramp and create pain, and we want free-flowing blood and energy, which leads us on to what I think was my most effective tip learned. Keep your womb warm. So in TCM, the uterus is actually a very delicate and sensitive part of the body, especially leading up to our periods. It's more exposed and it will be easily affected by different things. So think of your food, your drinks, and also external weather and temperature. I grew up in an Asian household, and if you guys also did, you would have known and been told that you don't drink ice drinks leading up to your period or during, you don't have ice cream, you stay away from cold things. And I just didn't listen to that. I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna eat what I want. But when I went to the TCM doctor, she was like, even though it's 100 degrees outside, you cannot drink ice cold drinks. And this is very similar to the Western understanding of vasoconstriction, where anything cold or cool will constrict your blood vessels and your blood flow, and therefore limiting the amount of flows. And how to tell if your uterus or your stomach is feeling too cold is if you have really bad period cramps. That's the main one. If during your period your bleed and your blood is actually a little bit brown and you have blood clots, that's also another sign, which is like me. If you have delayed or irregular menstrual cycles, and also if you feel tired and your feet are also cold. That is a signal that your uterus, your stomach, and your midsection is too cold and it needs to be warmed up. So here's my favorite warming tips. Room temperature or warm water like this will always be better than cold or iced drinks. And this is pretty simple. It just has to do with keeping the stomach, uterus nourished and relaxed. And drinking warm water in the morning also really helps with bowel movements. And this is something that every Asian woman will have down to a T. You'll never see them having iced cold water. Other cold things include raw foods, so raw fish or raw meat, leafy vegetables like salads. So the week before and during your period, just try to avoid, getting a fresh salad. Cold pressed juices, because a lot of fruits are also cold in energy. Ice cream, frozen yogurt. So it is a little mixture of cold temperature things, but also you want to learn these kind of cold-natured foods. And if you're really interested, this book, the 5 Elements Cookbook, at the very back, there's a whole index, which I think is super helpful, where it has a whole list of the most popular ingredients that we'll all come across, and it basically tells you the nature of all of them. So you can just like quickly reference that if you want, but you can also just do a quick Google search. So that's the first warming tip, liquids and like physical temperature. Next thing that the TCM doctor actually told me to do, because she realized that my feet were also really cold, and in traditional Chinese medicine, cold also enters through the foot. So if you imagine you're walking around on tiles or, hardwood floor and your feet are always cold, that will travel through your body and kind of stagnate your uterus area. So something that she said was that every night I should try a hot or warm bath foot soak, which is actually really nice because it's like self-care. If you also realize you have any of these period symptoms and you have cold feet, then definitely try a nightly foot soak and make it a moment. I use these bath salts, put some in, and just use it as a time to relax, and it feels honestly really nice. The next tip is something that I feel like a lot of girls did, but I only started doing recently, is to use these hot period patches. You can get them from anywhere. There's a bunch of different brands. So anytime I have cramps, I'll break out one of these, and you can see here, you just stick it on your uterus. So you want to just put it right under the belly button. It starts heating up when you rip the sticker and place it on your uterus area, and then you're good to go for the rest of the day. Another little mini tip is you never want to wear kind of like you don't want to expose your kidneys and liver and uterus to the wind. So don't go wearing your little cute tank tops during that time, because it will make the pain and cramping worse. But another alternative is, if you can't find these stickers, is I actually got this off of Amazon, and it's a heat pack and it's microwavable. So they just stuffed it with like flaxseed inside, and you just throw it into the microwave for about 60 seconds and it comes out nice and warm, and it's also kind of like heavy. And all you do is kind of just like put it on your uterus area, and it feels so good. And look how cute it is. There's all different types of, like, there's a black cat, there's like different animals, and I chose the cloud one. And then on top of that, you can also find these like belly bands. I also got this in Japan, but it's got this technology that's like infrared or something, but it just uses your body heat to, it almost feels like it's heated, but it's not. I've started using all of these, like not all of them at the same time, like one at a time, and it's truly made the biggest difference. I had like no period cramps when I started doing this. And then just for the foot as well, I have a few other little tips. So I hate wearing socks, but how I kind of trained myself around it is to just get these like really stretchy, kind of loose socks. And the thing with me is, if you ever come to my place, you'll always see these random socks in like the corner, because they're just my home socks. At any point that I feel my feet getting cold, I'll pop them on. No matter if it's summer, winter, autumn, gotta keep them warmed. And I keep them around because they're just always clean. Or are they? And then I recently found these. They're also Japanese, but in Korea, we also saw them too. But they're kind of like these foot stickers, and they have ingredients in them. And it's kind of like a foot detox. And I don't use it for the detox portion, but I do use it for the warming, because it's slightly warming. It's got like a sachet of the herbs and then a sticker, and then you just put it on the sole of your foot, and you really feel it kind of subtly warming your feet, and then you just go to sleep in it and rip it off in the morning. I will tell you, it is disgusting. It is disgusting when you rip it off, because it's supposed to be like detoxing. It's not really detoxing. It's just the ingredients in the sachet, because there's all different types. And the last tip is drink warming teas. So you might think this is just like whatever, but it truly makes a difference. So if you're making your own tea, try jujube dates. goji berries, rose, ginger. Any of these ingredients are truly warming for the body, for the uterus, for the stomach. And if all else fails, you don't have anything, just do ginger, hot water, and some honey or brown sugar. And if it's during the day and you suddenly feel cramps, I assure you, if you make this, it will go away. So after a couple of minutes of it steeping, oh, it smells so good. A sweet, deep rose. Slightly earthy, a little bit sweet. And if you're wondering about this fantastic little mug contraption, I got it from Kinto, and it's my most favorite thing ever. If you don't want to make it from scratch, you can also get pre-made drinks. Next, eat to rebuild blood. I truly understand that phrase, chicken soup for the soul now. That's not just a random phrase. It really is true because food is really medicine. And I never really understood that to the core until this year after I started seeing my TCM doctor and her sharing all these food habits and eating habits with me. Because if you think about it, a period is we're losing blood. We need to create a certain amount of energy in our body to be able to push out the lining and then have it like dispose in our body, right? So that takes an incredible amount of hormonal balance, of energy, and that all really ties back to the health of our blood. So one thing that we kind of diagnosed was something called blood deficiency, which is essentially I didn't even have enough blood in my body or blood energy to be able to push out a period. The balance was not balancing. And one of the best ways that she said I can do this, and maybe the only way, is through food. But before I share the quick little food tips, if you're wondering if this is something that you're also facing, if you have irregular periods or if you tend to be very pale, that's a sign that they look for. On top of that, if you have very light bleeding, that also might be a sign that you need to strengthen your blood. The food tips that I learned was to make bone broths. And bone broths is something that doctors in the West, doctors in the East, like literally everywhere, they all stand by bone broths. It's got the amino acids, it's got collagen, it's got all the nutrients. And what the TCM doctor shared with me is that, you know, sometimes when you drink water, you don't feel hydrated. It's because the body doesn't know how to absorb it. But the body knows exactly how to absorb soup. The nutrients that are extracted from pork bone, beef bone, chicken bone, your body knows that is rich nutrients and it will hydrate you from within, and you don't even need to drink water. So I have been, over the last 3 months testing a bunch of different soups with different vegetables. Then on top of that, if you're going to eat vegetables, once again, if you look up a lot of like non-leafy vegetables like carrots, cucumber, radish, zucchini. I love all these vegetables, right? But they're actually cold in nature. It doesn't mean that you can't have it. It just means like instead of having it raw, do roasted vegetables. And roasted vegetables will make sure by the time you consume it, there's no constriction going on in your stomach. And it's much easier for the stomach to digest something that's warm versus something that's cold. It won't shock your system. Another thing that's really good, she said, to eat to rebuild blood is things that are black. So black sesame, mulberry, beetroot, all of these kind of dark foods are an indicator that it is good for the blood. And then on top of that, maybe one of the biggest change that I made was starting to eat breakfast, but with a warm, small breakfast. So warm cooked oats or congee. And I think that truly changed the way that I felt. Like leading up to my period, I had no cramps for the first time when I finally started incorporating a breakfast again. So you could say, just side story, for maybe 5 or 6 solid years, I did kind of this like fasting. It wasn't that I was intending to fast. I even have a book, Fast Like a Girl. This is a great book from Dr. Mindy Peltz. She talks all about the bodies of women are not the same as men. So we can't fast like men, like 17 hours every day and disregard the fact that every week a woman's body needs to produce different types of hormones to get her period. So if you're interested in fasting, I would highly recommend you try this book because she talks about it. But I think it started to have a negative impact on me because I didn't need the benefits of what fasting was doing. Like I wasn't trying to lose weight, I wasn't trying to do anything, but I still kind of kept up with it, and it actually was giving me the opposite effect where it was like keeping my periods even more irregular and not warming my stomach and uterus. So this is also a great kind of reminder that don't just listen to dietary fads and what people are doing and what worked for them, because you really have to kind of test it for yourself. If you're curious, just another book. This is from Jessie Inchosby. She's a nutritionist and she shares a lot of great hacks on how to eat and what to eat for hormonal balance, because if you have PCOS, it's all a hormones game and we want to eat right. So how to eat, like eating your veggies first, trying some apple cider vinegar before your meal. I tried all of that as well. They did work, but this is more kind of like everything together. Tip number 4 is get some movement. I'm in the office most of the time. I'm sitting writing scripts. After work hours, I don't want to really do anything. I just want to lie down. And I remember one of the key things that every acupuncturist or every TCM doctor kept saying to me was that for irregular periods and period health and period cramps, anything related to period, is that it is so important for you to get the blood moving through movement. And movement, not like you have to run a marathon, you have to go to the gym and bust, iron or anything. It's just get enough movement where you have a slight pant and you have a slight sweat. That's enough. Like running up the stairs to the subway. Instead of walking up the stairs, you could run up the stairs or something like that. Just enough to get that cardiovascular going, because when that happens, your blood is moving. And going back to TCM, it's all about moving and making sure there's enough circulation so that everything is going right. And from a Western standpoint, it's the same thing. Like improved circulation, it promotes oxygens in the muscles, therefore less cramping. Exercise releases endorphins. That is your body's natural painkiller, by the way. So if you have cramps, light movement, like maybe some yoga, some qigong, some just like very gentle stretches, anything like that. And also an interesting thing is, from the TCM perspective, is that exercise represents the yang energy, which is the daytime energy. So during the day, you want to do more yang exercises. And then when it's about 5 p.m., 6 p.m., and then all the way to when we sleep, you want to cultivate the yin. So you want to relax a little bit. So my tip is also, if you're going to exercise, try to keep it earlier in the day or like just after work, and nothing that's like past 9 p.m. Which is the perfect segue for next tip, which is to manage your stress and protect your cycle. This is very close to my heart because it's like stress is normal, but chronic and prolonged stress is not. And that's when it starts to affect your hormones in a way that it disrupts everything and you get very terrible periods, or they just don't come. And like one of the main reasons for missed or irregular periods for women is actually stress. And from a Western perspective, stress is the stealer and the killer of all good things. It triggers your cortisol, and when you have too much cortisol, it throws off your estrogen and your progesterone, which is needed to create a healthy period, which is needed to relax your uterus muscles, to make sure that the prostaglandins are not heightened and cramping. It's a hormonal game, and stress is at the core of it, if we can't get that right. And in TCM, when you're overly stressed, it causes something called qi stagnation, which means your energy can't circulate. And when it can't circulate, that's when you'll have PMS symptoms, you'll have mood swings, you'll be overly tired and fatigued, you'll have painful periods, you'll have acne, you'll have everything, right? Like truly everything. And this was probably one of the hardest things for me to wrap my head around, because I'm like, how do I not stress? Like I understand self-care, but like, how do you just not stress when life is stressful? And one of the best ways that I heard a TCM doctor describe chi stagnation or stress is stress can be dwindled down to overthinking, anxiety, all of these kind of moods and feelings. He said chi stagnation is like when you want to scream or you want to cry, but you can't because maybe you're in public, maybe you're at a professional environment, or maybe it's just not the right time or place and, whatever. And you feel like you're pushing it down. You're pushing that feeling of frustration, anger down, and then your body absorbs it. And that's what leads to stagnation. So now it's this thing that's pent up in your body that's blocking the free flow of blood, of energy. It's creating additional cortisol hormones. Wow, that speaks to me because oftentimes I do feel like that. And I'm sure a lot of us feel like that, where you're just like, but I'm gonna let it go. But inside, you haven't let it go, right? So anyway, here are my stress tips. I fully believe in breathing exercises, qigong, and meditation. So breathing exercise, as in just whenever something happens, just breathe in, breathe out. And this actually changes the neural composition in your brain, and it is almost a deep reset. I also do qigong. So qigong is free-flowing, slow-moving exercises that help the body to circulate. That's all it is. And you can either do it standing. I also do meditation, which is sitting, and that really helps the body. It's nothing that you can see. It might make you feel better once you cultivate the routine of it, but it truly does wonders. All of these is kind of like we just need to be the best friend to ourselves. We listen and we don't judge. Like, we have to do that to ourselves, and that really helps me with that. The next thing is gratitude journaling, or just writing something that you're grateful for down. Like, it doesn't have to be a whole journal. Just write 1 to 3 things at the end of every day that you are proud of, that you are grateful for. And this actually changes, like, there have been a lot of studies on gratitude journaling, of just being grateful, that it changes the neural pathways in your brain to start seeing the world differently, because, we can't change everything around us all the time, but we can change ourselves and change the way that we think and perceive. Second thing is acupuncture or acupressure. Acupuncture has truly changed the game for everything, once again, if you're still sitting on it, don't, because there's nothing that you could lose from trying it and everything to gain, truly. And I remember one session that I did acupuncture, like, it was in the scalp, and you walk out and you feel as though you're floating. It's like, honestly amazing. The last and final tip is maybe one of the most important, and that is rest is your superpower. This one hit me hard because I always thought, like, it's fine, I actually get the right amount of sleep. Like, I get an average of 7 hours sleep, and one would say that's pretty good, but actually I've learned it's not about the amount of sleep that you get. It's about when you sleep, because that feeling of, like, you got 7, 8, 10, 12 hours sleep, but you wake up and you still feel like crap? Yeah. And maybe it's because you slept at 3, you slept at 2, whatever it is. And that's the reason. It really doesn't come down to the amount or the length. It comes down to when. And I never even thought of this as anything related to my period, my cramps, my pain, my everything. The TCM doctor basically was like, you gotta try sleep early, because if you're starting to feel stress, if you have pain, if your periods aren't coming, actually all of these are a sign that you're not getting enough quality sleep. There's a chapter on sleeping and resting, and they share with you the body clock. And there's this short little paragraph right here, which is called Sleeping When You're Angry or Unhappy. And it says, it's understandable you had an argument with your spouse, or you're experiencing sad feelings from your job, so you sleep or you nap to forget about what happened during the day. This is harmful because you bring this negative energy into your sleep. The negative energy will cause you to secrete toxins in your body, and the toxins will harm your organs, since resting time is when your organs realign. I recently got the ring. This is the Samsung ring, like Aura ring, whatever the equivalent. I noticed on the days that I'm actually more stressed out, I have a lot to think about, or I have a lot on my to-do list, or I was annoyed by something or someone, my deep sleep is really short. And deep sleep is the time within our sleeping cycle that the body is fully regenerating. That's when it's really restoring. You know, REM and all that is when we're basically still awake but sleeping. And if you're only in REM and in those light sleeping stages, you'll wake up and you'll feel so tired. But it's deep sleep that truly makes you feel well rested. And although this is not directly related to the period, it also is, because sleep is also when your body regulates hormones. So if there's one thing that I can say is to put sleep as a priority. No screens in the bedroom. Like, we've heard these tips so many times. If you have a hard time, try reading a book that you love. So I've started reading The Mountain Is You. This is very popular on socials. So those are my tips. It wasn't like a quick and easy tip because I really wanted to get down and deep into each one, because I really think it is so important, because it really has changed the game and my own period mentality, understanding, health, how I feel, like everything. It's only been 3 months, but I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm so excited to share more with you. Question before we finish: which one of these tips stood out to you the most? Or what is it that you're struggling with, trying to pinpoint the most? Curious. Please leave them below, and I'll see you guys really soon.